Hi guys, in this video we will learn how to connect Backblaze B2 Cloud to Xano. So Backblaze B2 is a replacement for Amazon S3. It's just cheaper. As you can see here, it's 1/5 the cost of Amazon S3. If you want to host like a TB of data per month or bandwidth of a TB, then you'll only end up paying $6. I think that's amazing. S3 is going to cost you somewhere around $40 if I'm not wrong. Anyway, so I was trying to connect Xano and Backblaze. I looked into the documentation. I couldn't find how to do it. There are native integrations for servers like Amazon S3, Azure, and I guess Google Cloud as well for Xano, but Backblaze is not yet there. Maybe they will add it in the future, but right now they don't have it. So we have to do it manually. So Backblaze, they do it in 3 steps. Okay, I think that's how S3 also does it. Backblaze basically copied everything S3 does. It's just since Backblaze doesn't integrate directly with Xano, we will have to do those steps ourselves. That's all. Okay, so the first thing you gotta do is you gotta go to your Backblaze and create an account, right? And once you create an account, you gotta create a application key. So I'm gonna blur this, but like just go in, create your application key, and then create a bucket as well. That's where you will be uploading your files. Okay. Yeah, funny story. 43 minutes ago, I didn't know how to do it. I asked in community. Now that question looks stupid, but hey, we learn from our mistakes, and it's okay. So here's how we do it, right? I thought this would be useful for anybody who is trying to integrate Backblaze with Xano. So I created a test endpoint called upload, and here we are just uploading a file resource, right? So we just add input, and we just go for a storage. You can use a file resource, simple. And once you upload a file resource, you need to do the first step. So there are 3 steps when it comes to uploading a file to Backblaze, right? So here, let me just zoom in, so maybe that will make things easier to read. So here's the first step, S1 obj. Then after the first step, we do the second step. After the second step, we do the third step. So by the third step, we'll be done, right? Okay. So what is the first step? First step is to authorize or get an authorization token from Backblaze. So you gotta use this endpoint here, right? And by the way, I will in the description or the comments of this video, I will drop the curl commands which you can copy and paste and use. So you don't have to pause the video and type it. Just look at the comments. You will get the curl commands, right? So this is step 1. We gotta get in touch with B2 authorized account, and that will be a get request. We will use the authorization keys which we generated from our account, right? Remember, we generated a ID and a key. So you have to encode it as, I guess, base 64 and just pass it on. So I'm using an environment variable for that. So you just either you can put it here or use a env variable like me. So that's the first step. So once you complete the first step, then inside the output, you would get, actually, you know what? Let me show you step by step. Step, stop, and debug. And we will look into the S1 object. Some of this will be blurred because obviously I don't want to leak my keys or anything. So let me just upload a test file here. All right. Now we're gonna run a file test. All right, stop and debug is triggered. Let me hide the request so you can see the response. So as a response, it will give us the bucket IDs, and it will also include an authorization token. All right, so it will include an authorization token. It will also give us the API URL. So we need to use both of this in the next step. So what I'm doing is, first we will send request to that first step. Then I will get my API URL from the response of that authorization request. Normally the API URL does not change, but just in case if it changes, it's best to use a value from variable. So I'm doing s1 object dot response dot result dot API URL. That was the path. So if you go back in video, you can see that was the path. And I'm adding this to the URL because that's the URL I'm going to be calling in second step. So that's the API URL. That's the base API URL. Then we'll add some extra stuff like B2 API, V2, blah, blah, blah. I will also drop a curl command in the for the next step as well. So we collect the API URL to use. Then we will also collect the token to use. Remember, we are getting two things. We're getting the API URL to use, and we are also getting the token to use. So we have both of these now. So I'm calling it authorization token TU1. Okay. Then we do the second step, and in the second step we are, where is it? Okay, so we are directly using that API URL concatenated with this stuff, B2 API V2 and all that. And then from the second step, let's run the second step now, so it's easier to explain. So second step, I just call it S2 object, right? All right, let's run the second step, and I'm gonna hide my request to keep my keys safe. And here again, I will get another authorization token back. I'll also get the upload URL. This is the most important thing. Well, all of this is important. Bucket ID would be the ID you've configured in your account. Upload URL is the URL where you will be uploading this particular file. So step one was getting your authorization token to use for these requests. Second step was to get the upload URL. You are getting the URL, or you're asking Backblaze, hey, where do I upload the file? Then Backblaze is going to give you a file URL, like upload URL. Then it's also going to give you a authorization token. And then you're going to save authorization token and upload URL again into a variable like this, upload URL to use, TU. I used that weird name, sorry. And then the second token is saved as auth token TU2. All right. So basically I'm saving these two, my variables. And then comes the third step. Third step is basically uploading the file to this URL using this authorization, right? But before we do that, for Backblaze, I guess for S3 as well, I'm not very sure, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Anyway, so before we upload the file, we have to convert the file into binary format. Okay, we cannot just put the file variable in our API and expect it to be uploaded. It doesn't happen. So you have to convert the file into raw format, and for that Xano gives us this this action called get file resource data from. So you just add get file resource data. All right, and here you can see get the raw data from file resource. So how does that look like? Let's do a stop and debug there, right? Where is it? File row. Yeah, there you go. And I'll just call it file row. And if I run this now, but it will stop after it reaches this step, right? Step number 7, stop and debug of file row. And this file row looks like an alien language, right? But basically this is the binary conversion of the MP4 we uploaded. And what we are looking at is probably like the header of that file. We don't really need to know any of this, all right? Just looks like alien language, like the one you might have seen in Predator movies. Anyway, we have the file row, and then we also need one more thing when we upload files to Backblaze. That is the SHA1 checksum. So what that means is we are sending a file through the interwebs to Backblaze server, right? And when that happens, there might be like it's all happening through cables, communication channels, satellites, or whatever. Sometimes the file may get corrupted. Some packages might be missing, blah blah blah, all that. So there is an algorithm which helps us understand if the file I send from my source reached the destination without any missing packages. Right? What that means is we are just checking the integrity of the file. Did it get ruined on the way? All right? Did someone tamper with the file? So to verify that, there is a thing called SHA1. So we are going to create an SHA1 for our raw file. So here you can see I create a variable. I call it SHA1 underscore TU. TU is optional. It's just SHA1. Then the value is the file row with a filter. We are applying a filter called SHA1. So here Xano has an SHA1 filter which you can apply, and that SHA1 will look like a string. So SHA1, if I run it here, you would see a string that looks like this, right? Now, along with the third request, we will send this string. This string is a function that will output for a file, and Backblaze will run the same function when they get the file, and this has to match. That's it. Again, you don't really have to know this. Just make sure you do the SHA1 like I've shown in this function, this variable here, right? And then the last step is API request. That's the third request, which is to the upload URL. Remember, if you seek back to the video, when I explained object 2, we get two things: the authorization URL and the upload authorization token and the upload URL. So we'll be using that upload URL to upload our file, and the param is just the raw file, right? Xano normally adds like a object here. Remove the object, you just put in raw file data, and the authorization will be the token you got from the second object, right? Like the second API call you do with the upload URL, they will also give you another authorization token. So you have to use the second authorization token. Then you have to provide what type of content it is. So for me, the content is video slash MP4. If your content is different, then make sure you specify that. These can all be done dynamically in Xano. I don't want to waste time explaining that. It's basic. Then there is the file name. Again, basic. I just concatenate test.mp4, but we can obviously make it the real file upload name or whatever. Then we just also include the SHA1 in the header. Again, I'll provide this full curl in the comments so you can copy and import it and implement it at your end, right? And then we will save it. Now, if we let's enable this, or I'll add a new stop, and I'll just view the S3 object, and I'm gonna run. Now if you run this, what's gonna happen is it's gonna run through all three steps. First, it will get the authorization token. Second, it will get the upload URL. Then it will upload the file to that upload URL, right? So here, if I scroll down, no headers, and oops, where did I click? Yeah. Here you will get a file ID like this. So if you get a file ID like this, that means your file upload is now complete. So you'll be logging this file ID because you'll be retrieving files based on this file ID here. Now to check if the upload was actually complete, you can use this tool called Cloud Duck. I forgot the name. It connects with your Amazon S3 or Backblaze. You just upload your file, and I just refreshed, and here you can see the file was uploaded and it's the right file. All right, so that is how you can connect Backblaze B2 Cloud with Xano using API. Hopefully this tutorial was helpful. This is Abby, and I will speak to you in a different video.